I think he's clearly talking about the likes of Barcelona and himself, who, if I'm removing all my bias, I think they do play a more pleasing brand of football than Arsenal. Do you know? See, I'm not always biased. Hey, it's me, half-time hooks, Hokage of the village, and I've been doing a bit of digging, and 52.5% of you that watch me aren't subscribed to the village. Yeah. So how's about you click that subscribe button, help the village grow, help us hit our targets, and enjoy the wonderful time that we share here together. Hope to see you soon. Peace. So look, I came across a comment from, well, I say a comment, it's kind of split into two. Yeah, there's two separate comments, and I'm going to talk a bit about them. And it's from Luis Enrique, the Paris Saint-Germain manager. Yeah. And before I start actually talking about, I guess, the comments themselves, I think the fact that a manager, coach, whatever you want to call him these days, like Luis Enrique, making these statements about Arsenal, I think it just like, there's a different gravity to it. Because Luis Enrique is a manager who's very, very stylistic, sets up a very good system. Yeah. You can see the PSG team is well oiled, well instructed. You know, everyone's kind of pulling in the same direction. Yeah. Everyone believes in the style that Luis Enrique has brought to PSG, and everyone's kind of been like, I guess, brought together under the beacon of Luis Enrique, and they really give everything. So I think when it comes from a manager who tactically is like a lot more, can't think of the word, who's tactically superior to most managers, who also has a lot of magnitude in the game, I think it means a bit more, in my personal opinion. But, you know, people can disagree with me, and if you want to, comments below. So look, here's what PSG manager Luis Enrique had to say about Arsenal, and obviously this comes after Arsenal knocking Real Madrid out of the Champions League. So he goes, I think Arsenal are one of the best teams in Europe at the moment. With the ball, they are a team very close to the top European level. And without the ball, they are also very good. All right, so what I'm kind of getting from this is, like, he's clearly stating that we're one of the best teams in Europe, which, I mean, unless you're living under a rock, you probably agree, because you would have seen the things that we're doing in Europe, and you would have also seen the things that we're doing in the Premier League. Be it as it may, we're not going to get over the line, and be it as it may, there's been a few performances, well, I say a few, quite a lot of performances across the season that have been very lackluster and not Arsenal-like. But hey, many factors contribute to that, and being the best in your league is very difficult because it requires a level of consistency that I don't think we've been able to hit this season, for whatever reason that may be. But he speaks about briefly us with the ball and without the ball. Yeah, he goes further on to talk about the off the ball stuff, but let's talk about the on the ball stuff. So he thinks we're very close to the top European level. So what I get from this is, when he's talking about the top European level, he's clearly talking about teams like Barcelona, who are playing fantastically under Hansi Flick. He's clearly referencing himself and PSG, who also on the ball, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And then outside of that, I can't, do you know what I mean? I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of too many. Maybe Bayern play really good on the ball, but I don't know if they play better than Arsenal, if you know what I mean. Like, maybe they've got a few players with, I guess, better individual quality. i.e. your Elise is very pleasing on the eye. Musiala, very, very pleasing on the eye, but he's now out for the remainder of the season. Harry Kane, very pleasing on the eye. So maybe you could throw Bayern in there as well, but I think he's clearly talking about the likes of Barcelona and himself, who, if I'm removing all my bias, I think they do play a more pleasing brand of football than Arsenal. Do you know? See, I'm not always biased. But I think, is there so many more notches to go up? I'm not so sure. And I think, because obviously Barcelona and PSG are both still in the Champions League, I guess we'll find out as an overall package which one of those teams is actually going to be the best in Europe. Because I would say winning the Champions League, or the further you get in the Champions League, kind of signifies where your level is at. Now, he then further goes on to say, I would even say they are one of the best teams in the world without the ball. They are a team with a real identity. We are similar, but also have different styles of play. Yeah? Now, I mean, there's a few stats that kind of could point towards maybe PSG a bit better off the ball, but even if they are, it's not by much. I would say Arsenal, best off the ball. In Europe, best off the ball. Do you know what I mean? In terms of pressing, because I would say defensively, in terms of shape, structure, rigidity, I think that's a word, rigidity, I would say Inter Milan. And I purposefully didn't mention them in the first part because I think they kind of rank below your Barças, your PSGs and your Arsenals when it comes to on the ball. They are still good on the ball, but I think they shine off the ball defensively. They kind of build from their base of defense and what they're able to do so well defensively, because they're very well coached defensively. That translates into them being able to have really dangerous transitions and break away. And when their strikers are in front of goal, your Martinez, your Thuram, they're gonna put it away. Do you know what I mean? They're just gonna put it away. It's just that simple. But they're able to do those good things because of how good defensively they are. They're super confident in their defense, and they're also super confident in their ability to put the ball in the back of the net. It's something that Arteta has spoken about a lot, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but he's often, not just this season, across many seasons, basically said, you need to be top 100, like you need to be cold in both boxes. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know, Arteta can set us up to be able to get into the opposing box, but can you be effective in that box? He can set us up in a way that, you know, makes it very difficult for other teams to be effective in our box, but can you make that not happen? Like, I've given you the blueprint, can you execute it? And that's where Inter thrive. They're very effective in both boxes. Now, I like the use. I like the use of, they are a team with a real identity. Now, I know a lot of people don't like to do the whole tactical, rah, get me a trophy, get over the line. That's more what they're about. And I hear that because I want to get over the line as well. It's been a while. But I think sometimes you have to look at football and how it's played. And I think more often than not, teams with a real identity are the teams that will go on to get over the line. Yeah? Because you gotta have, you gotta all be pulling in the same direction. It's like, do you know what? I used to work in a company, yeah? I won't say the company, but it was a fintech startup, yeah? And over the period of time I was there, I transitioned through many different roles, and the reason why I was so I guess, eager to improve myself and become better and get to a state of high performance, and then coach others to get to a state of high performance, is because I believed in the goal. There was a goal. We had a North Star. That's what it was referred to as, a North Star that we're all following. And that made it easier to plan the wider initiatives that would help the company get to where it needs to get. When you put that kind of perspective onto football, I feel like having that North Star is what gets the whole group together behind it, and they start doing things that maybe they wouldn't naturally do because they want this thing. Do you know, they believe in the vision. And the use of identity proves that everything that Arteta wanted to instill into Arsenal at a cultural level and at an on-the-pitch level is being noticed by other people in the game, who are also people that very much see having an identity as like the kind of cornerstone or rock of being able to do good things. So essentially, Enrique, not in so many words, but he is kind of saying, yo, Arteta, I see what you're doing. Well played. Yeah? And he even acknowledges we are similar, but also have different styles of play. And that's kind of where we differ, is the styles of play. But if we talk about off the ball, and he says, I would even say that they are one of the best teams in the world without the ball. He can't come out and say best team in the world, because obviously he wants his team to believe that they're the best. Maybe behind closed doors, when they're analysing and doing their match preparation for the PSG Arsenal game, they're gonna maybe not say, look, they're better at us overall, but they'll be like, cool, what they do off the ball here, maybe we can embed a bit of that into the way we play off the ball, and you get the point I'm trying to get at. So I think off the ball, we've become a lot more frustrating for teams over the years. But I think in the Champions League, because we tried to do it last season, but last season I feel like nerves got to us and we wasn't ready for the occasion, and for the large majority of the squad and the manager, it was their first time in the Champions League, and we go to Bayern, massive team, big heritage, and I feel like we just crumbled, especially at the Allianz. This season, we've kind of, it's another year, yeah? So another, like, obviously since that game up until now, probably been about a full year of further developing the way we want to play, further getting accustomed to the way we want to play, further understanding the way we want to play. And I feel like this season especially, we've been very frustrating for teams off the ball, yeah? So as you'll see, more often, well, do you know what? Something I've noticed more recently, I'll say, is we don't, off the ball, we're not always in that kind of 4-4-2. Like, sometimes we do go into a 4-1-4-1. And I feel the 4-4-2, it kind of makes us less dynamic on transition. So when we press high and receive the ball, I feel like we're not able to transition as fluidly off of the 4-4-2 as we are the 4-1-4-1. That's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong. Comments below, you let me know what you think. But there's also, and you see it in the Real Madrid game, yeah, like, and not a lot of teams do this, and maybe this is part of Arteta's whole culture thing, yeah. We have wingers that effectively what they do is they always track back. And because they always track back, the opposition wingers always find themselves in scenarios where they're being doubled up by the fullback and the winger, or they're being tripled up by the fullback, the winger, and the centre-back. So very rarely are we in scenarios where we are being overloaded. But at the same time, because of the way that we set up and the way that we kind of play off the ball, we're always allowing ourselves to create overloads in the areas that we want to when we press and win the ball back. A good example of this, when Marino drops deep, yeah, and then the midfield kind of becomes packed out when either Timber or Skelly are inverting into the midfield, we then create very, very favourable scenarios for ourselves because effectively whoever's on the ball gets gets ransacked by the players and then we've got like 4-5 man that are around the player that's won the ball back, and then it's like, cool, there's hella triangles. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes Erdegaard picks up the ball and he's doing. We'll talk about it another day. But more often than not, what we do off the ball allows us to immediately start playing through the team because there's so many players positioned locally to the person who's won the ball back that triangles immediately begin. And then that allows us to further, well, I say further, it allows us to then do what we do on the ball, which is we move the ball about a lot very patiently, trying to drag players out of position and break the opposition shape. So, look, I guess the whole crux of it is I think it's a positive in my eyes that this type of thing is being noticed, because I think it is very important to Arsenal, and I think it is a bit of credit being given to Arteta for him being able to create this kind of this system. I guess it's just you know what I mean. So credit where credit's due, you know, and I feel like with every game we're kind of gonna see it get better and better, and we're gonna see how it transforms in Europe, and I think it'll be very interesting to see how our system works against a team like PSG, who are, like us, very systematic, but I feel like they've got, let's say, more explosive frontline players that are more technically gifted than Arsenal's. So it'll be interesting to see how that all works out. But people, let me know what you think about Enrique and what he said. Let me know what you think about my thoughts in the comments below. And yeah, man, I'll catch you next time. Peace.